Welcome to the CABE webinar Wednesday for Wednesday, 17th of March. Today, I've got my colleague Ian McLaughlin on with us, our head of membership. He's going to be giving you an introduction to the incorporated engineer and engineering technician grades with the Engineering Council. So if you've joined us before, and I'm assuming most of you have, you'll know who I am. I'm Jordan, the Regional Student Services Coordinator at CABE, and I'll be the moderator today. We do like to encourage you to send in questions, especially on a subject like this. I know Ian is very keen to answer any questions that you have. So there's a number of ways you can do this. You can send them in via the questions tab that's appearing on your screen. If you're watching on YouTube, you can email us at webinars@cbld.com, or you can tweet us using the hashtag CABECPD. So as I've already mentioned, Ian McLaughlin is with us this morning to go through this presentation with you. So Ian joined us actually during the whole lockdown scenario last year, back in the summer. And prior to that, Ian was actually in New Zealand. So I'm just going to go through his bio with you, and then I'll hand over to him for him to go through his presentation. So Ian joined CABE as the head of membership after recently arriving back to the UK from New Zealand. He's experienced in customer service, business development, and working with not-for-profit membership organisations. He has a strong background in people and change management with professional training and coaching skills. In New Zealand, Ian was Training and Development Manager of the National Restaurant Association, a position that encompassed membership training for the industry, apprenticeships and management. Whilst in this role, Ian was responsible for the design, implementation and quality assurance of all training. And before his move to New Zealand, Ian was a quality assurer for a large national apprenticeship provider and managed the quality of academic delivery within a large team of assessors. As head of membership at CABE, Ian oversees all Engineering Council queries and applications and has successfully coordinated the licence for the additional registrations of Engineering Technician and Incorporated Engineer. So I'm just going to hand over to Ian now, and he will take you through those new grades.
Thanks, Jordan. Hi, good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining this morning. Looks like we've got an excellent number of attendees here, and it's climbing. So yeah, that's the introduction, and this is my face before I get on to the presentation. So thanks again for attending. This morning I'm going to be taking you through Engineering Technician and Incorporated Engineer. We're going to go through what steps to take to apply, what the journey looks like, and discuss the competencies along the way and how that maps to the different grades. Right, so I'm going to share my screen and get started. Right, can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Jolly good. Okay, so we'll go through IEng and EngTech. The UK spec is the Competency Framework issued by the Engineering Council for Engineering Council, and we'll go through that in detail. We talk about the registration process for each of the grades of registration, as well as fees, and sort of the first steps and how we can implement that, and talk about CABE and engineering as well. So CABE gained the license Chartered Engineer with the Engineering Council in January 2020. And since then, we've been working away getting Chartered Engineers registered with CABE. At last count, we had 35 CABE members who are now Chartered Engineers. And although you may think that's not a particularly large number, you'll see from today's presentation that the application process for these registrations does take some time. So the Engineering Council registration is globally recognised. It has partners with the Washington, Sydney and Dublin Accords. affording members recognitions across borders and countries. And for CABE, being a licensed member of the Engineering Council adds further international recognitions for our association and, of course, which is very, very good. Now, 2021, a year on from when we first gained our license. At the beginning of this year, we gained an additional license and are now approved to deliver the registrations of IEng and EngTech. So that followed a quality audit of our chartered engineer processes, as well as, of course, the application for these new grades of registration. So now that we've got that, we shall proceed as we did with chartered engineer, and will again be audited on those new ones in about 9-10 months' time, at which stage we will successfully gain the remainder of the 5-year license with the Engineering Council. Along with the addition of IEng and EngTech, the CEng license has been extended. So we are still working and registering engineers with CABE. So we can now offer the full suite of registrations. Also, we are accepting transfer and additional registration requests. So a member of CABE, that is CEng, IEng or EngTech, can transfer their Engineering Council registration to us if they wish to do so. That means they would pay their fee through us and no longer the other professional body, or they can hold an additional registration with CABE, which aligns their Engineering Council registration with CABE, and they would continue as they did with their original professional body. It's not mandatory that CABE members have to pursue Engineering Council registration, purely optional and doesn't affect any membership status. And we see this as a true member benefit of CABE. So we only process these applications and registrations for CABE members. In other CEng news, we're actually developing alongside with the Engineering Council a new route of eligibility for CEng for members to demonstrate experiential learning. There's kind of two components to Engineering Council registration. One is the underpinning learning, and then competencies. And you'll see with these membership journeys that the Engineering Council has a list of accredited qualifications, but also not everybody has those, or some may not have any, but have picked up that experiential learning knowledge across their career. So we're really excited to be developing that and launching that in the next month or two. Okay, so now we are able to deliver all of these registrations. You'll see that they fit in really well to the CABE membership grade. We already know that fellows of CABE and chartered building engineers can apply for chartered engineer, but not all that fit within those two top grades of CABE will be eligible or will wish to pursue chartered engineer. So as well as chartered member being available for incorporated engineer, those top two grades can also pursue incorporated engineer. So for IEng, a member must have a minimum of chartered status with CABE. EngTech, that's for technician, graduate and associate membership grades, are developmental grades. And you can see alongside the baseline RQF or NQF equivalent there that CABE runs alongside. So the Engineering Council also has that, and EngTech is RQF 3 or NQF 4, IEng is at RQF 5, and the CEng is so really good that we can now offer this across the membership. As well, there is competency for specialist building engineers. Now, this is for members who are potentially not doing the day-to-day engineering, but could be directors or extreme senior management companies, and they're highly specialised disciplines. They might find it difficult to demonstrate the full range of competencies. This also is relevant for academics as well. So there is specialist assessment for those types of things as well. They usually have extremely in-depth knowledge of complex disciplines involved in innovation and design and use within a specialism, and they can provide evidence in different ways. It could be presentations or speaking at conferences, thesis, publications, and of course recognition of experts.
Ian, sorry to jump in. I've got a couple of people saying the sound keeps dropping out. Do you think that might be because of your headphones?
I don't know. What has it been dropping out for you?
It drops out occasionally, but that might be my internet connection.
And I'll unplug. How's that?
It sounds better.
Okay. That's fine. I can proceed with no headphones.
I'll let you get back to it now.
No problem. Thanks, Jordan. Oh, thanks for flagging that. Right. Okay, so the Engineering Council has strict rules and regulations that CABE must follow. So here's a few key points to note. As I said earlier on in the presentation, it could be a fairly lengthy process. So the first stage of submitting the CV and initial application, and then getting to the professional review stage could take 4 months. It could take longer depending on the registration. Unfortunately, their strict rules and regulations must be followed, and the processes that I'll describe today are those required by the Engineering Council and within our license. So we need to be strict with those interested to make sure that all the necessary paperwork is supplied before we can progress and move forward to the next step of the journey. We can't bend the rules, and also every single decision to do with Engineering Council registration must be ratified by our Membership and Professional Standards Committee, the NPSC. Right, so let's get to the grades. We're going to talk about engineering technician first. And here's what the Engineering Council says about EngTech. Engineering technicians are required to apply safe work systems and are able to demonstrate evidence of their contribution to either the design, development, manufacture, commissioning, decommissioning, operation, maintenance of products, equipment, services, supervisory or technical responsibility, effective interpersonal skills and communicating those technical matters, and commitment to engineering values. The route to registration for EngTech and application journey is as follows. So the interested applicant submits to CABE their CV and qualifications for initial assessment. Now, with all Engineering Council applications, those qualifications must include the certificate of achievement as well as the transcripts that details the modules. And those transcripts and certificates must be counted as by 2 people. Those people can be chartered against CABE or another professional body. They can be registered with the Engineering Council, and failing that can be senior management or sponsors of the application. Once that's successfully assessed, the candidate's invited to complete a based application form. And once that is submitted, it'll be sent to 2 of our Engineering Council assessors. And if that's assessed successfully to meet the competencies without the need for clarification, the candidate is successful. So it's a real key difference for EngTech here. It can be a written application only. It is not necessary that an interview is always required. If the applicant's academic qualifications are not accredited by the Engineering Council, they're also required to complete the additional learning outcome achievement statement. Qualifications, experiential learning they gained throughout their career. If at assessment the assessors feel further clarification is required, the candidate will be invited. But as I said, it's not always the case. So here it is in flowchart form. Send us your CV and academic certificates. We'll check those within the team, the professional review team, and we'll let you know initially if you then complete this application form, which is, details your experience against the UK State Engineering Council, as well as the supporting document. We'll send that across to 2 Engineering Council assessors, and they will complete their desktop assessment of that. In the event that there's disagreement, which is unusual but does happen, a 3rd Engineering Council assessor will be consulted, and we'll send them the document for assessment, and then the majority decision is up from there. If there's a completely successful outcome, as I said, no need for an interview, but if further clarification is required, we will arrange an interview. So once we get to the stage of success, that outcome is then sent off to the MPSC, who will circulate it within the committee. We have an Engineering Council ratification panel that sits within that committee. They'll ratify this. Will inform the candidate of the outcome. And if everything's gone smoothly and successfully, your applicant is registered with the Engineering Council. Their Engineering Council rules state application is unsuccessful at any stage. They can't apply again for 6 months. And usually what we recommend in those 6 months certainly developmental notes provided by the assessment team are followed and included in your professional development plan. So as you go away for those 6 months we're working on things, you know that when you come to read. So we'll have a quick look through the engineering technical framework now. And we've created this framework using the UK and of course our own CABE Competency Framework. And as well as being assessed alongside the CABE EngTech Competency Framework, the assessors also assess against code professional conduct and so there's different amount of key sections in each of these. But here we've got knowledge and understanding. That's engineering technicians will use engineering understanding to apply the technical. The applicant must demonstrate they're able to review and select appropriate procedures, methods to undertake tasks, and that they can use appropriate scientific or technical or engineering principles. Running down the far right-hand side are some examples of what evaluating methods, carrying out engineering tasks. A really key component here, recognising difficulty, identifying and the approach to resolve it. When writing evidence for any sort of competency-based application, it's not always best to use that kind of project or experience that was perfect. It's actually often to think of those sticky situations and recognise the difficulty, the fact that we were then plan how to resolve it. Really important as well that they're identifying improvements, techniques and procedures, and being able to. For point 2 there, it's about drawing on technical knowledge, performing engineering calculations, specific for us to building engineering, and analysing. Section B, it's about the design, development, engineering technicians will contribute to this kind of development, manufacture, commissioning, decommissioning, operational maintenance, products, equipment, processes, systems, and services. So point 1 here is about identifying the problems and applying appropriate methods to identify the cause, satisfactory solution. Point 2, identify, organise and use resources effectively to complete the task with consideration for cost, quality, safety, security and environmental impact. So the candidate may provide a demonstration using their knowledge to solve the problem, investigating the problem that they've found, planning and identifying the solution, and weighing up different ideas of different solutions, and then contributing to the design of the right. It's a balance, certainly, within all our jobs, those points that I talked about.
Ian?
Yeah?
Sorry. The sound is still causing some problems for a few people. I turned your webcam off thinking that might help with the connection, and it did for a little while. I'm not sure.
I don't know what to suggest. I actually am plugged into the router today, so my connection is stable. I'm not. You want me to try the headphones again?
You can if you want to. I'm trying to think of what else we can do, that's all. So people are saying it's quite hard to follow the process because your voice keeps dropping out.
Yep, that's not ideal. I'll try the headphones again. Keep flagging it, please, to everyone online.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back on the headphones. How's that, Jordan?
It sounds okay at the minute.
Okay, okay. So I shall crack on, but as I said, please do continue to flag if there are any issues. So it's important that an engineering technician can consider how waste can be minimised, recycled or disposed of safely, how they can contribute to best practice methods and improvement, and of course overall improving the quality of an operation or process. Right, moving on to competence C, responsibility, management and leadership. Engineering technicians shall accept and exercise personal responsibility. Point 1 is about reliably working and effectively without close supervision to the appropriate practice. Point 2 is about accepting responsibility for the work of themselves or others. And 3, accepting, allocating and or supervising technical and other tasks. So examples of evidence could be that applicants completing challenging tasks successfully, identifying issues that fall outside of their current knowledge and seeking the advice, identifying the standards and code of practice relevant to those tasks, understanding drawings and permits and appropriate documentation, inspecting the work carried out by others, checking the status of equipment, safety checks, and the working environment, ensuring that the scope of work is clear with themselves and with those around them, and actually feeling confident to query any aspect of that task if it's not. And of course, learning from any experience and providing constructive feedback when supervising or working with others. Competence D for engineering technician is about communication and interpersonal skills. Now, Engineering Council applications and registrations are all conducted in English, and an engineering technician shall use effective communication and interpersonal skills. Point 1, as I said, communicating effectively at all levels in English. Point 2, working with colleagues, clients and supervisors, suppliers and of course the public. Demonstrating personal and social skills and awareness of diversity and inclusion issues. So examples of evidence here can be attending meetings and contributing to those meetings. It could be about preparing comms and documents and reports to support technical matters, and information exchange, providing advice to both technical and non-technical colleagues. Then point 2, it's about contributing as part of a team constructively, resolving any issues within discussions with team members, suppliers and clients, and persuading others to accept suggestions and recommendations. And then finally, identifying and agreeing and working towards collective goals. In terms of diversity and inclusion, it can be about knowing and managing emotion, strengths and weaknesses, being confident and flexible and dealing with new and changing interpersonal situations, creating and maintaining productive working relationships and resolving any conflict, and being supportive of needs and concern of others, especially when this relates to diversity. Competence E is about personal and professional commitment. Engineering technicians will demonstrate commitment to the appropriate code of professional conduct, recognising obligation to the society, the profession and the environment. Point 1 is understand and comply with the relevant codes of conduct. So we discussed already the code of professional conduct. Point 2, understand safety and apply those safe systems of work. Point 3, understand the principles of sustainable development, apply them in their work. Point 4, carry out and record CPD, necessary to maintain and enhance competence in their own area of practice. Point 5, understand ethical issues that may arise in their role and carry out responsibilities in an ethical manner. So examples of evidence within this competence, as I said, is demonstrating compliance with the CABE code of professional conduct, working within relevant legislative and regulatory framework, providing evidence of applying safety requirements, risk assessments, and health and safety legislation, recognising how sustainable principles can be applied in the day-to-day work, and identifying actions that can be taken to improve sustainability. Point 4 here with CPD, just to note that engineering technicians, all engineering are required to undertake CPD. So for some of our developmental grades, they'll need to start recording CPD specifically for their engineering council. And then once recorded, it's about undertaking a review of the development needs, producing a personal development plan, planning your development around your own and organisational objectives. Then, of course, carrying out that plan and recording planned and unplanned CPD activities, and reflecting and evaluating outcomes of CPD. Assisting others with their CPD is also a way that they can provide evidence against that. Finally, point 5, an engineering technician should be able to demonstrate understanding of ethical issues that they may encounter in their role, and give an example of when they've applied ethical principles within their work, and give an example of when they've upheld ethical principles as defined by the organisation or company. So that's where the CABE professionalism comes in. Okay, that brings us to the end of engineering technician, and we're going to move on to incorporate engineer. I'll just pause there. Jordan, have we had any more issues with the sound?
You still keep dropping out a little bit, which is obviously confusing because we did the run through yesterday and it was absolutely fine. So I don't know whether you want to continue as you are or whether you want to call it a day and we'll try again. It's entirely up to you. I'm just checking the question bowl because someone's just popped a message in here.
Thank you.
Yeah, people are still saying that it's a bit of an issue, so I don't really know what you want to do.
Well, it's completely up to you and, of course, the attendees. I'm happy to carry on for those that aren't experiencing any issues. Of course, we're recording this as well. I'll let you make that.
Okay, well, I've got a couple of people now saying that they can hear you without any problems, and that they're getting the gist of what you're saying, because obviously the information is on the slides as well. So I think if we keep going, and then we can obviously listen back to it afterwards, and if we need to put in another date once we're back in the office, then we could perhaps do that.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. I will continue.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, great. Onwards and upwards to incorporated engineer. So the Engineering Council say incorporated engineers maintain and manage applications of current developing technology. Probably a key word to note here that we're kind of stepping towards that management realm. And they may undertake engineering design, development, manufacture, construction, and operation. Incorporated engineers are able to demonstrate theoretical knowledge to solve problems and develop these, as well as proven analytical techniques, successful application of their knowledge to deliver engineering projects or services using established methods. Responsibility, again, a key word as we move up the level of registration, for project and financial planning and management together with some responsibility for leading and developing. So you can already see the key change. Effective interpersonal skills and communication and commitment to professional engineering values. Now, the route to registration is slightly different. And for those that are interested, just to let you know, incorporated engineers follow the same routes as chartered engineers. So I'll go through the incorporated engineering competencies, but in terms of the application journey, it's the same for IEng. If the applicant's academic qualifications are accredited by the Engineering Council without the need for further learning, they're then eligible to apply for that registration on the standard academic route. And so, for example, if somebody's got a BEng accredited by the Engineering Council, they will be welcome to apply on the academic route. The applicant, once that initial assessment has taken place, completes the competency-based application form. That is then sent off for assessment, and if that assessment is successful, a professional review interview is arranged. And if the qualifications are not accredited by the Engineering Council, it can be the case that the applicant can be assessed by our academic panel to go through the individual case procedure. It could be that the applicant's got a BEng, but it's not one that is on the database of the Engineering Council. That's where the transcripts that I talked about earlier and detailing the course modules really come into play. We send them off for assessment. So here's the journey. send us the CV and countersigned certificates and transcripts. We'll check if you're eligible for the academic route. If not, there are alternative routes available with the technical report route. The academic route applicant will then complete the application form that goes against the UK competencies. The application form is sent off to 2 assessors who conduct their assessment. And again, in the event of a disagreement, a 3rd assessor is consulted and the majority decision upheld. Once that comes back as a successful assessment, the PRI is arranged and an interview date is scheduled. That interview is also along UK competencies, and at that stage, the candidate will be successful or unfortunately unsuccessful. There's no deferral or conditional offers as there are with CABE. The decision then goes off to the NPSC for ratification, and assuming that everything's gone well and successfully, CABE will register the candidate with the council. And again, if unsuccessful at any stage, unfortunately, we apply for those 6 months. So I talked about the individual case procedure, which is for those with academic qualifications not accredited by the Engineering Council, or they may require further learning, which is a term that the Engineering Council use to suggest that the qualification has some of the content required, but there would be further learning required. They may have only partly completed a qualification, or they may not be within the Washington, Dublin and Sydney Accords. So these qualifications may enable them to go through the academic route, but it needs to be assessed by our panel of academics that it meets the requirements. So what happens is the applicant is asked to obtain any further information. We've already got the certificates and transcripts, but there might be clarification required, especially if those qualifications were conducted overseas. These most likely will come from the qualifications study. They then get sent over to the academic panel to determine if the content within the module subjects contains the level of engineering, mathematical and scientific content to enable the applicant to go down the academic route. The decision of the panel is final, and then if successful, that applicant can go down the academic route, and if not successfully assessed, they're invited to go down, which we'll talk about now. So the technical report route is competency-based route. So following the completion of the application form, providing the associate supplementary documents, if the applicant doesn't have the qualifications we've discussed, they'll need to use a combination of qualifications and experience to demonstrate compliance with the Engineering Council requirements. So what happens is the applicant will write and submit a synopsis in regard to what they're going to produce their technical report on. And this is assessed that they're heading down the right track, and the assessors believe that the technical report will demonstrate the competencies, skills and underpinning knowledge. If that is successfully assessed, the candidate's invited to complete the technical report, where they'll write technical report on the projects that they have had involvement with, managed, led on, alongside the specifications within the Competency Framework, and they can obviously utilise the synopsis. Once that's submitted, the technical report is sent for assessment, and if assessed successfully, the candidate's invited to, well, 2 interviews, essentially. We conduct them on the same day, but there's a separate interview for the technical report, and the assessors will discuss all the content within the technical report. And then if that interview goes well, we'll stay on and have the ERI and all around UK spec, the code of conduct and professionalism. Right, writing gets pretty small here, so the CV inserts are sent in to us and we'll do the assessment. It could be that the applicant doesn't have the accredited qualifications or any qualifications, and they're advised immediately to enter onto the technical report route. It could be that they go down the ICP and they're advised to go on the report route. We will let you know. They then complete the application form and provide supporting documents, and that's then sent off to these two assessors. Now, just to note, with any engineering, we match the assessors and stay with an applicant for the whole journey. So the people that look at the technical report will be the people that are conducting the interviews. We feel that's really important. In the event of a disagreement, a third is consulted and the majority. Successful assessment means that we will then invite the candidate to write their technical report, usually around 4,000 to 6,000 words. And from date of invitation, that must be submitted within 6 months. Once we receive the technical report back, sent to the same assessors who conduct their assessment, and if that assessment is successful, we invite you to the two-stage interview that I talked about before. The first stage is purely on the technical report, and successful technical report interview is followed by the ERI interview that takes on the same day. If everything's been successful, that decision is sent over to the NPSC, and we register the applicant with the engineering council. Again, unfortunately, if at any stage an applicant reapply for 6 months. Okay, now let's look at the IEng Competency Framework. A point to note here in difference to the engineering technique, because there's an interview, we have been able to get written evidence from candidates as a reduced version of the framework against the CABE highlight along the way. But at interview, the full UK competency framework is questioned. I'll keep you in the loop as we go along. Okay, so we're going to look at the competency framework now and really kind of focus on the difference between what we've been through before with engineering technician and now what we're seeing with IEng, looking for those key words, manage, lead, were not within the engineering technician framework. Okay, so within A, knowledge and understanding, incorporated engineers will use a combination of general and specialist knowledge and understanding to apply existing and emerging technology. So you can see the difference here. We've got specialist and emerging. Point 1, they should have maintained an extended sound theoretical approach to the application of technology in engineering practice. And point 2, using the sound evidence-based problem solving and contributing to continuous improvement. Examples of evidence is about identifying the limits of knowledge and skill and taking steps to then extend that. Personal knowledge of appropriate technology, both current and emerging. Applying that newly gained knowledge successfully in a task or project. Reviewing procedures and processes, making recommended improvements. Developing knowledge needed to work within a new industry, area, or discipline. Applying knowledge and experience to investigate problems. Identifying opportunities for improvements and how these have been or could be implemented. And using established process to analyze issues and establish real key differences here. Competence B, the design, development and solving of engineering problems. Incorporated engineers shall apply appropriate theoretical and practical methods to design, develop, manufacture, commission, operate, maintain, decommission, and recycle engineering processes, systems, services, and products. Point 1, identify, review, and select techniques, procedures, and methods to undertake engineering tasks. Point 2, contribute to the design and development of engineering solutions. Point 3, implement the design solutions for processes and contribute to their evaluation. So, evidence can be establishing the steps required to carry out engineering tasks, identifying what's available, products or processes needed. It can be about preparing technical specs, reviewing and comparing responses to technical aspects of tenders, establishing user requirements for any improvements, contributing to identifying the specification of design and development for product, processes, systems, identifying operational risks, and evaluating solutions, taking into account with that all those issues that you need to juggle: cost, quality, safety, reliability, accessibility, appearance, fitness for purpose, and so on. Collecting and analysing results and carrying out necessary testing. Identifying resources required for the implementation, implementing design solutions, identifying problems during implementation and taking corrective action, and contributing to recommendations for improvement and actively learning from feedback on these. Okay, point C. So a little pause here. You'll see that C1 and C2 are in a different colour and have a star. What that means is, alongside the UK spec and the CABE Competency Framework, these two standards align. And within an application, we don't require additional written evidence against those competencies, but they will be discussed and explored during the professional review. So we'll follow this format throughout the rest of the competency framework. Competence C, responsibility, management, and leadership. Here, incorporated engineers shall provide technical and commercial management. So a big step up in terms of the level at which you're working with an engineering technician. Right, point 1, plan the work and resources needed to enable effective implementation of engineering tasks. Point 2, manage, organise, direct and control, program or schedule, budget and resources, elements of engineering tasks or projects. Point 3, manage teams or the input of others into their own work and assist others to meet changing technical and management needs. Point 4, take an active role in continuous quality improvement. So examples of evidence within Competence C can be health assessment, systematic risk identification, securing necessary resources, and confirming roles within a project, planning, applying necessary contractual arrangements, with stakeholders, clients, suppliers, operating appropriate management systems, working within the legal requirements, managing teams, coordinating projects, evaluating performance, recommending improvements, reinforcing team commitment to the professional standards, and leading and supporting team and individual development. So about their performance and providing feedback. And if necessary, seeking input from other teams or specialists where needed in managing relationships. Ensuring the application of quality management principles by team members and colleagues is followed. Evaluating the projects and making recommendations for improvement. and implementing and sharing results of the lessons learned and things that have been identified. There's definitely that next level up here. Okay, D, communication and interpersonal skills. Incorporated engineers shall demonstrate effective communication and interpersonal skills. As before, communicate effectively with others at all levels in English. Point 2, present, discuss proposals, justifications and conclusions, and then demonstrate personal social skills and awareness of diversity and inclusion. So here they can not only be involved in meetings, they might be chairing these meetings, recording meetings and discussions, preparing the communications and documents, exchanging information, and engaging and interacting with professional networks. Preparing and delivering presentations, managing debate, feeding the results back to improve, and contributing to the awareness of risks. And again, in terms of personal and social skills, about knowing, managing emotions, strengths and weaknesses, being confident and flexible, dealing with new and changing situations, agreeing and working towards collective and common goals, creating, maintaining and improving productive working relationships, and of course, rise, and being supportive of those with needs and concerns when it relates to diversity and inclusion. Competence E, personal and professional commitment. Incorporated engineers demonstrate personal commitment to professional standards, recognizing obligations to society and the environment. Point 1, understand and comply with relevant codes of conduct. Point 2, understand the safety implications of their role and manage, apply and improve safe systems of work. Point 3, understand the principles of sustainable development and apply them to their work. So very similar standards here, but we'll see the examples of evidence suggested are at that higher level. Demonstrate compliance with the code of conduct, identifying aspects of the code relevant to the role in which you work, manage the work with all relevant legislative and regulatory frameworks, identify and take responsibility for your own and others' obligations with health and safety and welfare issues, develop and implement hazard identification, risk management systems, and manage and evaluate these systems and make and suggest improvements. Operating and acting responsibly, taking account of the need to progress environmental, social, and economic outcomes simultaneously. Recognizing how sustainability principles can be applied in day-to-day work, and providing products and services which maintain and enhance the quality of the environment and community and meet financial objectives. That's a real challenging juggling act. Understand and encourage stakeholder involvement in sustainable development, use resources efficiently and effectively, and take action to minimize environmental impact on the area of responsibility. Point 4 of E, carry out and record CPD and understand ethical issues within the role and carry out responsibilities in an ethical role. Professional development plans, plan what it is that you need to learn, and then you and carry out that CPD and reflect upon it. Did that meet the requirements that you had identified in your development plan? Cycle, you create the PDP. From that, you can identify your CPD, carry it out, reflect on it, and then create another PDP for that. For ethics, understanding how ethical issues and what you may encounter in your role. Give examples of where you've applied these and examples of applied or upheld ethical principles by the organisation or company. So that brings us to the end of the two registration grades and required. Talk about briefly now the fees involved. So for engineering technician applications, when the applicant submits their CV and qualifications for assessment, there's a £25 administration fee for the assessment of those documents. As you now know, hopefully if the sound wasn't too much of an issue, that the engineering technician applicant will then submit their competency-based application form to assessors. When they submit that, there's an assessment fee of £165, and that's payable when they submit their application for assessment. If it all goes through without the need for a professional review, there's the £18.40 entry fee that's set by the Engineering Council. And then on a calendar year, which is what the Engineering Council work on, there's an annual fee as well. If there is an interview required, an Engineering Council CABE BRI interview is arranged and they're charged at £100. For IEng, two routes with slightly different fees due to the nature of the different points within the process. First, we'll talk about the academic route, and there's the £25 fee at time of submission of initial application. Then when they submit the application form for assessment, there's the assessment fee. And as all IEng interview, when it is successfully assessed and the candidate's invited for an interview and a date is set, there is then the interview fee of £100 that I mentioned before on the list. All successful and we've got ratified by the MPSC, there's the Engineering Council entry fee of £44.90. Slightly different for the technical report once we get to the assessment stage. So the £165 assessment fee for the application and synopsis, once successfully assessed there, the candidate's invited to complete their technical report, we now know. So when that technical report is submitted to CABE, there's that additional assessment fee of £50, and that will then send the technical report off to be assessed. And in the same sort of vein, it's a two-stage, two-part interview for technical report. So that's reflected in the interview fee due to the time involved in that part of the application. So for a technical report, two-part interview, the fee is £125. Same entry fee, £44.90, and on a calendar year, there is an annual registration fee by the Engineering Council. So hopefully now you've got a good overview of different routes available to registration, how that fits in with the CABE membership grades, and what is required for registration. You're keen to take the first step on being professionally registered with CABE and the Engineering Council. We have developed and now published fantastic written guidance for all of the levels of registration, and you can visit the web pages on the CABE website and CABE community, and you can see them there on the screen. We provide step-by-step instructions and also full PDF guidelines that tell all the different routes, all the different stages, and all the things that we've discussed today. You can also email engineering.council@buildy.com and you'll receive an automated response that contains the web links, the instructions, where to find the documentation, and that sort of thing. These links and this email will get out application. The first step, and you will have seen this in the flowchart, send us a copy of your CV, a copy of your academic certificates and transcripts. There should be scans, not photos. And the transcripts detail the content of the study. Send them over to registration@cbuild.com. Myself and the professional review team will pick those up and get the process underway for you with the initial application. When you email that, if you could include your CABE membership number and also which level of registration you wish to apply for, CEng, IEng. Now, as I mentioned, the academic certs and transcript should be signed by 2 people, and on the screen now is the blurb about who those people should be. So, Engineering Council registrants, chartered members of CABE, or chartered members of another professional body, your sponsors of the application, or senior managers within the. And that brings me to the end of the presentation. Thank you very much for attending. I'm sorry to those that experienced issues. As Jordan mentioned, the session was being recorded, so we'll review that and hope that those technical issues won't affect the recording, and obviously that'll be shared out with you and available on our YouTube channel. So, I'm happy to take questions now with the caveat that I don't know everything. I may need to go away and find the answer if I don't know it immediately, but I will do that. Thanks very much. Over to you, Jordan.
Thank you, Ian. Okay, so we've got a few questions. So I will go through them. Hopefully the sound problems hold out so that people can obviously hear the answers. So let me just have a quick look because my questions tab has just disappeared. Bear with me 2 seconds. Internet connections are not liking either one of us today. Okay, so I've got one question that says, do services include provision of professional services?
I'm assuming that you are referring to specifications within the Competency Framework there. Thank you very much for your question. Yes, professional services, building engineering services, as with all kind of qualifications that follow along a set of standards, you can interpret them in the way that is suitable for your area of work. So for us at CABE, it's about building engineering, but those same UK spec standards be used to assess mechanical engineers. But yes, certainly professional services can be. Thank you.
Okay, lovely. And then we've got one gentleman asking if there's going to be a session for CEng. In answer to that, I can answer that one, so I don't have to pass over to Ian. There is already a webinar on our YouTube channel that was delivered last year. So it was after we were given the initial license with the Engineering Council that our Chief Operating Officer, Jackie McCauley, went through the initial process. So that is on our YouTube channel. So please do go take a look. And obviously, if you then have any other questions, you can get in touch with the team. Moving on, are the interviews conducted in person or online?
Thank you. Yep, good question. So we're conducting 100% of our interviews for Engineering Council and CABE actually online at the moment. When we return to more normality, there will be the option to attend an interview at CABE headquarters in Northampton, but there will always be the opportunity to have the interview online. So whatever.
Okay, so then we've got, can you give us some examples of what the eligible qualifications for the academic route would be?
Yes, so the Engineering Council list of accredited and recognised qualifications is definitely non-exhaustive, I'll say. So there's a website, and I can send out the link that you can actually run your qualification through and check it. Because I could say to you now, oh, if you've got an MEng, Masters in Engineering, or a BEng, then yes, that is accredited. But unfortunately, it's just not the case. It could be that 50% of BEng are accredited, but it's dependent on a number of factors. One, institution, so where the BEng was taken. Two, the content within that BEng in terms of modules. And also they do that by checking the intake and graduation years, because courses kind of change and grow and improve over periods of time. But most certainly a really, really good sort of start if you've got MSc, BSc, MEng or BEng, definitely worthwhile running it through. Jordan, I'll get you the link to the Engineering Council database and you can share that out with the attendees. It's also on the web, on the CABE.
Okay, brilliant. So we've got a couple of others, so I'll just quickly go through them because I am aware of the time. So someone's asking whether they can find the competency framework applicable for an academic on the CABE website.
Yep, so the competency framework, whether you are following the academic or technical report route, is the same. Just to note, the engineering technician competency framework is just that for all, and so the same for IEng. But yes, absolutely, you can find it on the CABE website, and also you can find it on the Engineering Council website. Look at UK spec. Provide the link and document to Jordan to share out.
Okay, brilliant. So there are a few more coming in, but I think what we'll do is call it a day there. We'll review the recording, we'll put together some answers for the other questions, and then we can kind of distribute all of the information via email to everyone that's attended today. So yeah, I think we'll call it a day there. Again, apologies for those that have experienced some sound issues. We're not too sure what's happened. We did a run through yesterday and everything was absolutely fine. So I suppose that's just technology for you. You never know whether it's going to work until the day. So again, really sorry. But like I say, we'll review the recording. We'll get in touch with everyone with the links and the Q&A and anything else that people might want to obviously have to hand. If you have any other questions that you think might, be beneficial for other people to know the answer to as well, then obviously just send them over. Contact Ian. Him and his team are always on hand to help in any way they can. So thank you for everyone joining us today. Thank you for staying online, even if you did experience some sound problems. I know Ian's presentation was very good. It had all the information on the slides, so hopefully that made it a little bit easier to follow if you did have some issues. Our next webinar is on the 21st of April. So please do take a look at that one. Hopefully I'll see you online on that date as well. Any questions or anything like that, please do get in touch and stay safe. Hopefully we'll resume to some normality soon, and hopefully we'll be able to get out and about and see some of you in person again shortly. Ian, do you have any closing statement that you would like to say?
No, just thank you so much for your attendance, and I look forward to receiving your applications. Thank you.